Previously, the third attack in Nappa's light auto combo had no special property. And now Nappa's full light auto combo has anti-air properties on the third hit, meaning that he can actually spam this out of neutral if the opponent's above him and anti-air them pretty consistently. Honestly, given the animation, it makes sense for him to have a property like this, and it's in line with other cast members that have this one, but it does set the tone that in a patch where I would like to have seen some nerfs to aspects of Nappa's kit, we're probably not going to be getting any of those. I'm going to go slightly out of order on the patch notes here, since it doesn't make sense to talk about the change to his 5H, since it relates to a different change on Nappa. Instead, we're going to look at his standing unique attack first. Previously, the startup on this attack was 16 frames, and there was a bit of hit stun on the first hit of 5S to allow it, of course, to combo into the second hit. I believe that at some high hit stun scaling, it was possible to have the first hit connect, but not have the second one connect. But additionally, with the previous hit stun that was there, you could not really cancel out of this into some other moves. For example, overhead didn't work. Armbreaker would work, which is more than fine. But his explosion attack, quarter circle forward S, also did not work previously. Now let's look at standing unique attacks buffs. First of all, the startup has been decreased, and it's a pretty monumental buff actually. It's now a 10 frame startup attack on that very first hit. This also means that throwing the Ki Blast is 6 frames faster. So Nappa's neutral with this armored Ki Blast is actually going to be slightly improved because of this buff. But it does also mean that there's some new combo routes that Nappa can go into as well. While this would work fine before, there might be some new links and opportunities where Nappa can combo into this that he couldn't before. They've also buffed the hit stun on the very first hit of the attack, which initially doesn't seem like it gives him anything new, since this particular option doesn't really work. However, if you get the opponent airborne, you're actually able to combo into this, and there's some very funny looking things that you can do if we take a look at Twitter. Courtesy of Wizard of Gore, or Remains on Twitter, you can now basically do that particular link several times. Now, I don't think this is necessarily an optimal thing to do, but there could be some applications into Nappa's combo theory that allows him to do this. I also think it's possible that this allows for Nappa to get true string combos from 5S into other special moves, or even into the second hit of 5S at higher hit stun decays. Previously, Nappa's jumping down heavy attack had no Gatlings into other normals. As you can see, standing heavy, crouching heavy, and standing unique attack didn't result in cancels for Nappa. This move was special cancelable, and you would often see this used in some combo routings, since it gave a ground bounce, so you do stuff like this. Etc., etc. Don't mind the cat if you heard her in the background meowing. Jumping down heavy now has a couple of new Gatling options from it. I will admit that on block, these really don't give you much. You can go into 5 heavy, down heavy, jump unique, or even standing unique attack. Probably just to, create some more RPS situations on block, but the real utility here is going to be in terms of comboing from this on hit. 5 Heavy works pretty well, thanks to the one buff that 5 Heavy actually received, which is to its startup. It's faster when you perform this particular Gatling, but in no other context. Down Heavy seems to be a little bit limited, especially in the corner as well, but I wonder what happens if we do this on an opponent that's a little bigger than GT Goku. So there's some character-specific links that you can get with down heavy's Gatling from jumping down heavy. And then as far as things like jumping unique attack, that combos as well, as does standing unique attack. So there's definitely a little bit more combo routes that Nappa can get off of this move when he's able to actually link this that don't require special cancels. Nappa could already get combos off of this before, but adding in these normals could result in higher damage routes overall, higher meter build, and who knows, there's probably some sort of Cybermen setup that can take advantage of this particular new Gatling that Nappa now has. Next, let's get into the changes to Nappa's assist, starting with his B assist. This is how the move used to behave when it would block an opponent's attack. As you can see, Nappa would sort of stand there, be able to go all the way through, and bounce the opponent up into the sky. Now let's check out the new behavior of Nappa's B assist when it successfully blocks an opponent's attack. As you can see, instead of Nappa standing there and taking multiple hits, he instantly attacks the opponent, very much improving the usability of this move as a counter poke option against the opponent. Instead of the opponent being able to potentially react to this cancel and escape it in some way, like by doing particular cancels, now they kind of just instantly get popped up. And I think that's kind of a nice, snappy quality of life buff for the assist itself. Lastly, his C assist has a couple of buffs as well, so let's take a look at its old behavior. Previously, it was plus 33 on block in the old patch, which wasn't really like too great of a lockdown assist. Obviously, you would like to be able to use this to catch the opponent moving in air or use it for combo extensions, but if the opponent blocked it, well, there really wasn't a whole lot of advantage. I mean, this is very comparable to a beam assist, which isn't ideal for an assist that has a longer cooldown than those assists. Nappa's C assist now has more block stun as well as an increased amount of hit stop on the opponent when they block the move, resulting in higher block stun overall. 43 frames of block stun now on a vertically tracking C assist. This is actually pretty good and might actually be a fairly viable choice for Nappa players to consider. With these couple of sets of changes, I think you've got 3 really good assists that can fulfill different niches for your team, and you can pretty much pick from any of those assists for your team to run with. It's a fairly small patch for Nappa overall, but he does have some nice quality of life buffs in there. He finally gets access to an anti-air auto combo, so now he can play that heavy mash style neutral that kind of just fits with his character. I think, again, the animation looks like it should be able to anti-air considering all the other anti-air auto combos that exist in the game. The buffs to his assists are quite nice, and 5S's buff could result in some new combo routing for him, as well as the changes to his jumping down heavy attack. The big thing for me in this patch is the lack of nerfs to Nappa overall. Now, we don't really see Nappa too often, as much flack as I do give the character. He is a difficult character to optimize. You have to know what particular hits with Cybermen, the inputs that you're doing with Cybermen to get them to do particular attacks, knowing your confirms from all of them. He's not the simplest character to play, but I think out of all the restand characters, the other two being Piccolo and Majin Buu, he's probably the best. He's got some of the craziest neutral, and a lot of that is thanks to the power of the Cybermen themselves, which are still untouched in this patch. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think the Cybermen should be a strong tool in Nappa's kit, but the lack of interaction that you have with this part of his kit is sort of frustrating to have, because unlike Ginyu, who at least has to do like the little summon animation to get his Ginyu Force active for a moment, the Cybermen are kind of always a persistent threat, completely ignoring assists. And the one change I would want for both Nappa and for Ginyu is that if they get hit, the summons disappear. That's the one thing I really want to see, because I think that would be a healthy way to sort of promote some of that counterplay. Because when Ginyu gets Birder out and you have to just stay on the ground to avoid being full picked up by a combo, it's a pretty frustrating element of the game. When Nappa gets an EX Cyberman down and you start block stringing him, you have to immediately stop and say, I actually can't force a turn here, because if this Cyberman jumps me, I eat a full combo. And I think that you can't have it both ways. You can't have these strong tools that solo convert themselves and have them be as durable as they are. Based on how the changes that I've seen Bandai make, I don't think they're going to nerf those buffs that they gave to the combo potential for these assets. I'd rather see them nerf the survivability aspect of them, make them easier to check. Now, I'm not asking for Cybermen to get blown up by a beam or an assist. I think that where they're at right now, where you have to physically touch them, is fine. I would just wish that if you made Nappa get hit by something, or potentially just even block something, that the Cybermen like go passive or disappear, and the same thing could apply to the Ginyu Force and everything like that. Maybe that's too severe of a nerf, but I think at the very least, having them disappear on hit would alleviate a lot of my frustrations when it comes to this archetype of character in Dragon Ball FighterZ. There is another balance patch coming up, or like a bug fix patch at least, for Dragon Ball FighterZ, so maybe Bandai will do something about that. I have my doubts personally, but Either way, Nappa is a very strong character, but he does take a lot of investment to learn, and I think that if someone is willing to put that time into Nappa, they will be greatly rewarded for it, especially in this version of the game where a lot of his support functions as assists have been buffed considerably as well, thanks to the buffs to his B and C assist. So I have my grievances with the character, obviously, and I think that there's a lot of good things I like about the character, but those frustrating elements with that uninteractability just because Cybermen are going to walk up and gank me, I think that still needs to go.